I hope you guys can see me. Hello, welcome back to my channel. We're taking it outside today, as you can see, in my mom's gorgeous welcome to my garage, my gorgeous backyard Lamborghini. Welcome back to my channel, guys. So I've got a little bit of a heated topic to share with you guys today, especially due to this coronita virus. I've noticed in myself, amongst many others, and some of my clients, that a lot of us have kind of started happy hour a little too early in the day, and there is an unsatisfaction in that area of our lives in which, whether you're questioning how much you're using substances, or you notice that you're drinking too much wine, or you're starting happy hour too early in the day. So I kind of wanted to talk about that, especially because most of us feel confined in our houses. We feel limited as to what we can do, and basically there's nothing else but to drink wine all day and smoke weed, enjoying your life, especially during times like this. But I wanted to kind of dive a little deeper. I did a bit of a journal prompt today into, what my urges, my substance, I'm not going to say abuse because I don't think I'm abusing it, but we'll go with that, my substance abuse issues. I noticed myself smoking a little bit too much weed lately. And I kind of wanted to dissect where that was coming from and really get down to the bottom of it, because I know that I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one going through this entire shift in our lives, through weird, confining situations. And yeah, so I started with a few questions this morning. I started with the simple, what do you want me to know? I suggest you grab a pen and a piece of paper if you notice that you were having a few issues with substances lately, if you're, not satisfied with, what life has basically come to right now, where, there's not much to do outside of our houses. You have to stay home. You're not allowed to go shopping or go to the golf range, the driving range, or whatever it is. And, our options are kind of limited right now. So I wanted to help us realize that there is, a more expansive way of going about this. And it's time to use our creativity, guys, to use our creativity to find things that we can do that don't necessarily involve wine at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. And yeah, so I sat down with myself this morning because I was a little bit unsatisfied. I know that I've been numbing myself for a little bit, and I keep kind of coming back to the excuse of, okay, well, I know this is not a problem, but I don't feel like stopping right now. I know that this is something I want to do right now, and so I wanted to see where that was coming from, and kind of figure out a way to make my way through the urges, and ignoring them, or not ignoring them, but really transforming them into something I understand and that can bring me real joy and freedom. So the first question I asked myself was very simple. What do you want me to know? Okay, whether that's your mind, your soul, your addiction, your substance abuse issues, or whatever it is, what do you want me to know? And sit down with that and let yourself write it without thinking too much into it, because the things that will come up are exactly what your brain and your mind and your body want you to know when you're not too busy numbing that, or kind of ignoring it, or avoiding it, or denying it. So what do you want me to know? And the first two things that came to mind were, one, that this is not more powerful than I am, and two, that it just gives you an insight into what you're dealing with here, and the immediate first things you need to know about this situation, and that is going to be unique and personal to you. So my second question going into that was, why am I doing this? Why am I smoking too much? Or why, you really know about what it is that you're going through. Why am I, turning to the bottle at early on in the day? Why am I using this as a form of escapism? Or why am I, doing too much of this? And again, the answers are going to be 100% unique to you, but when you ask yourself why and you allow that honest answer to arise, you're going to get the answer immediately. And for me, it was, why am I smoking? To feel connected to the moment and connected to myself. And so this led me to start asking a few deeper questions, like, how do I stop? And why does this feeling creep up? Why do I mix up the joy of substance use versus real joy? What's the difference? How do I replace my current habit? So we're going to go kind of through these questions together so that you can really use this journal prompt as a form of really starting to understand why you're, developing certain habits, or why, you've been turning to these a little too often in the day or whatever. And this just, you can do this with anything, whether you've been at home playing video games all day, or you're going into a deeper hole, or you just have this bad habit that's kind of getting the best of you. So how do I stop? Your unique answer is going to come to you, and it's going to show you, it's going to really inspire you to go deeper and figure out why you think you need to do these things. And, when that urge arises, do something you really actually want to do. And, it's all about understanding your unique response to this. And by asking yourself these questions and allowing yourself to slow down and really connect with the answers, you're going to find that there was maybe something below the surface that you weren't ready to face. And that's how we get it. That's how we slowly, without a huge shock to the system, because I feel like most people are drinking, smoking, or using substances, or doing too much of one habit, because right now there is such a tremendous shock that we're all dealing with that we don't know how to absorb it all at once. It might be a lot of pain that you're holding in that you just don't feel like you can face on your own. And so taking it by question and slowly writing down the answers that feel right for you and that come to you instinctively, it's going to help you figure out, this tendency, and, show you that it's not so scary to face. And then, so after the two first questions, which were, what do I need to know? And why am I doing this? Or why am I smoking too much? Why am I drinking too much? And then how do I stop? We are going to start transitioning into, how do I replace my current habit of whatever with something that really fuels me, okay? Because it's nice and dandy to do these things once in a while and to get the joy of substances, of wine, enjoy that giggle, that smile on your face. But when it's becoming a little bit too much of a habit and you're no longer satisfied with it, or you're hiding from something a little deeper, we want to start transitioning into something that's really gonna get you what you want. And that's, choosing actions and new habits and new ideas that will fuel you, instead of beat around the bush and make it a simple open the bottle, drink response, or light whatever and smoke response. You're going to go into something a little more expansive. You're going to go into something that is new and creative, and it's out of the box. And so my answer for how do I replace my current habit of smoking with something that really fuels me was, just do it. Just do something new. Keep doing more of what makes you happy and eliminate the underlying causes for your dissatisfaction, which to me came up as my mindset, my energy, my environment, diet, hobbies. So these things were like, okay, there's something more out there than this little hack you've been using to trick your mind, trick your brain, trick your biology into feeling good. And you just have to do it. I know for a fact that each one of us, under all the bullshit, knows exactly what we want to do. But sometimes we give ourselves excuses. We try to hack that fun by doing something that's not going to take as much time or courage to do. you know, most of us are ridden with these fears that unless we do exactly what we need to do, we're not going to make ends meet, we're not going to feel satisfied, we're not going to be happy, we're not going to be secure, whatever it is. And at the end of the day, you know what you want to do. You know what is going to fuel you in this moment. And sometimes you think that that fueling is this substance. You think that the wine at 3 p.m. or, you know, the shot of vodka or the joint, or, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, the video game, the whatever it is, like literally there's an endless spectrum of habits gone wrong. And you know what you would rather do. You know that there's something out there that brings you even more joy than this. And cut the bullshit, cut the excuses, and go out and do it. Or if that's not exactly right for you as it is for me, just ask yourself, how do I replace this habit or this current habit of smoking, of drinking, of whatever, with something that really fuels me? Okay, I'm going to give you guys these journal prompts at the end of the video so that you can use them and really try them out. But yeah, okay, and then so what will raise my vibration right now? Now, when I wrote that question, when I did this journal prompt, I was facing very early urges of going out and just smoking. And I realized that it's not going to give me the satisfaction that I was hoping for. And even if I didn't have the guts or like the courage or the determination to just get up and do what I wanted to do right now, I have other means that will raise my conscience, raise my consciousness, and raise my vibe. So what are those things for you? For me, doing my inner work, that always brings me more freedom, more expansiveness, more consciousness, more joy in my life. Sunshine, which is like a biological need for feeling good, and I knew that my body was, you know, a little deficient in vitamins, a little deficient in joie de vivre. So sunshine, listening to the birds, and grounding myself in the moment. And that is my personal response. So what will raise your vibration right now? When you ask yourself that question, find out what's going to make you feel authentically good right now. And if it's something as simple as eating, or as simple as you know, going and sitting outside, or taking a walk, or, you know, doing something that right now you know is actually going to take your energy and raise it up 20 levels, then do that. Because this urge that you have, especially when those cravings start, you know, kicking in, you're going to notice that your energy levels are just going to start, you know, fluctuating, because, you know, you spike your dopamine, you spike your serotonin, and then you don't have the substance anymore that manually did it. So you have to go through like those withdrawals or the cravings all over again. What is literally going to raise your energy right now without any substance? Do that. Okay. Now, on a side note, going back to the inner work, going back to that focus on myself, how can I better understand the resistance around my bad habit or my addiction or my cravings, my urges, whatever? How can I better understand my resistance around this? Okay, now I asked myself that question because I wanted to know what that physical energy was. You know, I know that sounds a little confusing, but I knew that there was a physical resistance around doing something other than smoking, or actually facing that I might have a slight issue with this, or that it's something I no longer want to do but I don't feel control over. And so by asking yourself where the resistance comes from, this is where you start getting those real deep answers, starting to do more of that expansive work and really understanding where this drive comes from and where, you know, all of this heaviness comes from. Okay, my answer to that was a simple question. I answered my question with a question, and it was, what if I smoke because I want to enjoy what I'm doing even more? And my response to that question was, it's your intention that drives you. So it's not the substance that's doing anything. It's not, you know, the act of smoking or drinking or whatever. your intention. You want to enjoy something more than what you've been doing right now, which is perfectly normal. Everyone should be seeking a more expansive version of life. But you seem to have clung your joy, like you depended your joy on this substance, and that's where this resistance comes from. And for me, it was my intention. So I wanted to just have fun. And I thought that a substance, or, you know, weed, was going to make anything more fun. So if that was taking a walk because I wanted to take a walk, or doing work, or, you know, doing something, just any activity, I thought that doing something, doing a substance, drinking or smoking, was going to make that even more fun for me. And so, you know, sit with that answer and really try to figure out where your resistance comes from. Okay, if it's just you want to have more fun, or if there's a deeper issue, there's something you don't want to face, and slowly but surely get into those answers, because there's nothing wrong. You get to see it. The minute it's on paper, it's going to lose its power over you. You're going to start to understand things. And so, yeah. Now, I had another question for myself. Definitely. I had several questions. Because my urges or my cravings, or, you know, that moment where the thought pops into your head and then instinctively you proceed towards smoking or grabbing the bottle, or, you know, doing whatever next substance it is. My question was, why does that feeling creep up? That's a good question, especially when it comes to addictions, when it comes to substance abuse. You have a feeling that you derive, or that depends or comes from your substance of choice, or that craving. Okay, so my question was, why does that feeling come up when either I want one, or when I feel guilty about it, or whatever? And I started understanding the biology of this addiction. And it was, you know, when you do something, you're spiking your levels of dopamine, you're spiking your levels of serotonin, your brain kind of works with whatever substance that you're doing. And then when you're down from that and it's over, you're in a lack of vitamins, your dopamine receptors are all effed up right now, your GABA inhibitors or whatever. And so you start out low from that withdrawal, hoping that the smoke, in my case, will raise your vibe, and then you get back to the normal state. Like you're starting off at a lower state, and you think this substance is going to bring you back here, but really what it does is it just brings you back to a normal level. And then when that's over, you start again, and you go a little lower and a lower each time. And that's exactly what it is why does that feeling creep up? Because biologically in my body, I'm low on vitamins, I'm low on these levels of chemicals, and that's where the feeling creeps up. And then there might be some energy around it, so you get to dive into that. Okay, now another one is, why do I mix up the joy of living or whatever with substance highs? Okay, I think most of us believe, in any case, if it starts with just a bad habit, or like you have a raging addiction and it's a serious thing, we tend to tie our joy, our happiness, our feelings of excitement and expansiveness and consciousness with these substances of choice. And at first, there's nothing wrong with that, because, you know, you want to experience a little bit of laughter, you want to experience whatever, and it's fine. But when it becomes, you know, this tendency or a dependency, really, to get that sense of joy from the substance, from the smoking or the drinking or whatever, you know, that's where we start mixing things up. So ask yourself, why do I mix it up? Why do I think that my joy or my happiness or my sense of freedom comes from this particular substance? And really allow yourself to slowly answer that. Okay, it's not something you need to be afraid of. It's something that you're quite literally going to see where you tied your happiness to an external substance and why you did that. So So I realized that my answer was that I believe in the quick fix, which eventually makes you dependent on the substance. Instead of feeling what's underneath the urge, which in my case I wrote down numbness, upset, grief, loss, sadness, fear, anger, confusion, you turn to drinking or smoking or video games or sex, whatever, to hope that it will fix that feeling. And so there is your answer exactly. And if you look at the keywords you've used, you're really going to see what words stuck out, which could be the emotions, which could be the direct answer in itself. And there you go. So literally, I have tied my joy, my happiness, or whatever to something because I have an underlying feeling of sadness, of grief, of loss, of anger, of confusion, and those emotions are what I'm avoiding. And you know what? Sometimes that substance helps for all of 5 minutes until, you know, that deeper stuff comes back to the surface to remind you that it never did get its time with you. And so that's where my real breakthrough came up. I realized that I never did give that underlying sadness or energy time of its own to be expressed. And that is, you know, I think the core of any addiction is you believe you need to be happy all the time. And anytime there is a less than desirable emotion or feeling or thought that comes up or pattern, or you have to go through something in life that you're not fully comfortable with, that feeling of I need to be happy all the time comes back, and you chase that rather than going to the heart of the feelings that you have or the emotions that you need to experience or the grief, the sadness, the loss, the confusion, the fear that you need to face. And instead of doing that, you turn to something that's going to hack your happiness. And that sadness that's right there never got its time with you. And so you, who is afraid of feeling that below the surface stuff, just keeps ignoring it. Okay, so here's where the real work comes in. My question, after realizing that there was definitely some energy and some stuff that I wasn't paying attention to, that I wasn't listening to, but that I also knew I was afraid of feeling, because if I wasn't afraid of feeling it, I would have felt it and it would have been over by now. I wouldn't have, you know, smoked all these times or drank wine all these times or, you know, gotten a little drunk because I was feeling like shit and wanted to feel happy. And look, again, I want to stop myself right here and say, okay, a few glasses of wine every couple days, or, you know, to whatever, that's one thing. But when you notice, when there's that little sensation in the back of your mind that says, okay, this is turning into a problem, that feeling is what you need to listen to, because it's not the constant ignoring, saying, okay, it'll be over one day, or like I can stop, just I don't want to stop today, or I don't want to stop right now. That's one thing. Okay, so if you know that this is a genuine issue, as opposed to just some fun thing that you get to do and enjoy every now and then as a part of life, that's very different. Okay, so when you know that there is underlying energy or underlying fear or something you need to deal with, and you know your level of craving or urge or dependency on this substance is going to show you quite directly the level of emotion that you need to feel. And if it's a really bad addiction, then you probably got some really heavy stuff in there. And you know what? That's okay, because this next journal prompt is going to help you feel that without it being too overwhelming. So, how do I feel my energy without it being too overwhelming? Okay? And my first answer, when I wrote this down intuitively, without thought, without question, was no promises. Okay, there is no promise that you will feel that energy calmly, or that it's not going to be overwhelming, it's not going to be scary, it's not going to be whatever. But it is likely, it's going to be likely that you won't feel ready to face these things. Okay, and that's okay. So ask yourself that question. How do I feel this energy without it being too overwhelming? And listen to the answer. My answer was like, girl, I cannot promise you, straight up, I'm going to tell you, I can't promise you that it's not going to be overwhelming. That this that this fear that you've been hiding from, these emotions you've been ignoring and denying, these little things that you've been trying to avoid by smoking or drinking or whatever it is, I can't promise you that when you go through that, it's going to be easy. But what do I need to do to face what I am hiding from? Okay, and this is where I realized that it was going to be a lot softer than I thought it was. When I answered my question, what do I need to face that I am hiding from or numbing, because those words came to me, they'll probably be different for you. My first word was breathe. Invite it to the surface in a calm, positive environment where you'll feel safe and at ease. You know, I did it on my porch, so I invited my fears and that energy to the surface calmly. I said, okay, look, I know I might not be ready. Please take it easy on me, but here is your space to arise and be expressed. And I said, show me what you need to feel. So I let it rise to the surface, and I was simply receptive to it with my pen and paper, and I wrote down the words that came to mind. And emptiness, nothingness, connection to the moment. The words, the deep quietness is unsettling. I want to feel one with life. Acceptance of what is. Warmth. Wanting to do so much but believing that I can't. Help me feel what is driving this urge. Anticipation. Wanting to experience, so this was pretty interesting actually. Wanting to experience more in life, but unable to rationalize crazy things happening. So I realized that what this really wanted me to do was stop and enjoy the moment and feel like life was expansive again, and feel connected to the moment, and feel like anything was possible all over again. And really, I was missing that feeling of warmth of life. I was missing that feeling of connection to the moment, connection to life and the people around me. And there came this emptiness when I thought that was impossible. But what I really started to understand was what I wanted more of. And I thought that the substance was going to give me that, but it can't. And so here is where I invite you again to feel into it. So when your urge arises again, feel into it. Tune into the feeling without identifying with it. So, listen to it, notice what it's doing and saying, watch it, and write down what comes to mind. More of what I wrote was also, I am chasing long lost memories of life feeling expansive and big. And so I knew that smoking or drinking sometimes, or taking even heavier drugs, gives you that sense that life is, endless all over again. And it gives you that feeling of expansiveness that your rational mind cannot explain. And I want that, but I don't want it from a substance. And I said, wanting real excitement. I feel like when I smoke, my brain turns on again. Everything feels vivid, clear, and exciting. But then I, behind the scenes, still feel empty, useless, worthless, and small. Smoking makes it okay to stop and do nothing. So I realized, just from these answers, that, slow down. This is what you actually want. And you have believed all this time that the only way of getting those things is through drugs, is through substance, is through whatever. You want the joy of excitement in life, you want freedom, you want expansiveness, you want to live life without being able to rationalize all of it, and just feel life being excited again. So there's always an underlying cause for the behavior that's driving you and that's making you do certain things. And I came to the conclusion that I think life should be easy and fun. I want to be free, but it feels like I can't go anywhere. So smoking or drinking or whatever feels like it expands my mind and everything, while making life feel new again. And so there are your answers, guys. it's not in the substance. And it's, you know, when you identify immediately with that urge, with that craving that you experience in your body, and you go, okay, well, it's time to smoke, or it's time to drink, or whatever, and you don't question it, you are reinforcing that behavior. And then the next time you start from an even lower point, because you feel depleted, because the high is over, and you're going back to your normal levels again, or less than normal. And instead of always identifying with that pattern, with the urge, craving, action, get high, deal with it, this time you get to stop and really ask where this is coming from, and what is this substance replacing? What is it making up for? And there are your answers. So if you find yourself doing something a little too much, especially during coronavirus, during this entire time, which is, you know, quite difficult on all of us, don't be so hard on yourself, okay? Because shaming yourself for having an addiction, or for doing too much of a substance, is only reinforcing the cycle. You're not the substance issue, but there's something else that you actually want, that you actually want to do or experience or feel, and you have tied that to a certain substance. You believe that a substance is going to give you that, when you realize that once you do a little bit of that inner work and you figure out what it is that you actually want to feel and you actually want to experience, you start realizing that no substance can give you that. And so to finish this video, I'm not going to do a guided meditation, because I'm not 100% the person to do that. Like, I'm sure if you follow your own guidance, you'll be okay. But I want you to breathe. I want you to choose 2 of the words. Actually, I did this exercise as well. It's probably on the last page. Yeah. So we're going to breathe into what we want, which is basically what this guided meditation is going to be like. And it's just going to help you feel that feeling that you are chasing, without substances, and by just breathing into it. So you want to get familiar with that feeling again, but without having to do anything to get there, but breathe and tune into it. So I wrote down a few words, after putting the journal prompt as breathe into what you want. And 2 of the things that I noticed really stood out for me were the words expansiveness and aliveness. And I really want to breathe into that. Breathe into that expansiveness, okay? And I know the rational mind will stop you at almost anything, just to you know, make its point and prove that it's not rational to do these things. But do it. Okay, if you want to feel that feeling again, you need to breathe into it. You need to consciously navigate your emotions and all of the energy that is available to you, and you need to tune into the energy you want to feel, because nothing is going to give you that. It's going to hack it, it's going to pretend like it's the real deal, but it's not. And the real deal comes from you tuning into that. Okay, so pick 2 or 1 or whatever of the words that really stick out. Write down, breathe into what you want, and create a little list of words that goes with it. Okay, so for me, like I said, the 2 words that really stuck out in what I wanted to feel and tuning into what I wanted to feel was, I want to feel alive. Like fully alive. Okay, and I want to feel expansive. I don't want to feel retractive. I don't want to feel small. I want to feel like the world is at my fingertips. And the only way to do that is to breathe into the feeling of it. Breathe into the energy. Flow. Align yourself with that energy so that you don't have to look for it anywhere else. So, yeah. I hope this video was... There's a squirrel on the other side. I hope this video was insightful for you guys and helped you realize that, actually I want to show you this squirrel. Do you see that right there? I'll zoom in, but like, hey guy. Hey, he's looking right at us. Say hi for YouTube. yeah, so I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this video. Take it easy on yourself, guys. It is very difficult and confusing and challenging to go through these times, especially nobody knows that, like, what the official verdict is, what we're going through. We don't know when it's going to end or what we can do in the meantime. And I just want to remind you that this can be a time for tuning in to what you really want to do and allowing yourself to do that without excuses. Okay, sure, you can't go shopping anymore, you can't go to the restaurant and whatever, but you can follow really what you want to do. And if that means going for a walk or creating something from scratch or whatever, do that. Okay, because nothing is going to replace the real feeling of unconditional joy and happiness in your life. And I think the truth is, I believe the truth is that all of these things we want are just an energy. And when you have been believing in one energy for too long, you seek an escape from that, and you just want to feel better energy. But the only way to do that is to tune in to that energy. Tune into the feeling of joy, of freedom, of love, of connection. Breathe into it moment by moment, and remember that it's not bad to think that a substance is going to do that for you. Don't shame or guilt yourself or like scold or punish yourself for having this habit or addiction. Really just see what it is that you actually want, what you really want to feel, what you really want to experience, and find out what made you think that this substance is the key for that. Because if it's not a substance, it's a person. If it's not a person, it's an activity or a job or an outcome or material possessions. And all of these things are they are external, they're outside of us. And when you learn how to navigate your energy, which I really dive into in the Live Your Life course, Live Life Your Way, we're going to learn how to really navigate our energy, and it just comes from breathing into it. Tune into that feeling of expansiveness. Tune into that feeling of laughter. Breathe into it. Use everything that you are, all of your inner resources, to tune into that energy, and then the ideas come from there, and you get an even deeper sense of joy, because it's not coming and going in a span of 2 hours, or it's not dependent on a substance, it's not dependent on an outcome. You create that from moment to moment by simply tuning into the energy you want. So in all honesty here, I might go smoke a joint. Or I'll just sit here with my feelings and allow what comes to be experienced and be recognized and accepted as it is. But look, times like this are difficult for everyone. Do what feels right for you. And if you can really get down to the bottom of those cravings, those urges that you have, then even better. Otherwise, next time, and just keep bringing more consciousness and more love to it, and keep accepting the moment as it is, and accepting yourself as you are. But yeah, I basically did these journal prompts for you guys, so I'll link them right below. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Thanks so much for watching.